Hola muchachos, ¿qué tal? Buenos días, aquí tienen el horario para hoy, jueves, el 9 de noviembre. No homework was due for today, no homework for the weekend. That assignment that you see telling time in Spanish is not due until Tuesday, and you'll have time in class to work on it as an in-class assignment, so no worries to do it for the weekend, unless you would prefer. Daily objective, to talk about and exchange information about your daily routine. Our warm-up is to take another look at the vocabulary that we looked at on Tuesday, the reflexive verbs to start off our day, despertarse,
Despertarse,
to wake up, levantarse,
me levanto,
to actually get up out of bed, cepillarse los dientes,
cepillarse los dientes,
to brush your teeth, ducharse,
ducharse,
to take a shower, all the verbs pictured there on pages 74 and 75. You also have a glossary of them as well that you guys took in your notes on page 96. So using these verbs that we looked at on Tuesday to play some Simon Says and get some kinesthetic learning going and having you guys up and moving out of your seats doing nonverbal representations of that key vocabulary while repeating it together. So that's where we'll start off. We'll then transition to the reflexive verb grammar notes on page 80. Look at those right now. Reflexive verbs are verbs that we do to or for ourselves. We refer to those as reflexive verbs because the person doing the action is also the person receiving the action. The doer and the receiver are the same. So if we look at the glossary again, all these verbs are reflexive because, you're shaving yourself, you're doing your hair, fixing your hair, you're bathing yourself, you're brushing your teeth, you're waking yourself up, you're giving yourself a shower, getting yourself up out of bed. These are all reflexive because you're the doer and the receiver of the action. Grammatically speaking, we can recognize these verbs as reflexive because they end in the letters S-E. All of them do. That is a good indication that a verb is reflexive. And because they're reflexive, we need to add what's called a reflexive pronoun. Those reflexive pronouns in Spanish are me, te, se, nos, and se. As you can see there in the conjugation chart at the very bottom, you see the relationship between reflexive pronouns and the conjugations that they go with. Me goes in the O form, te in the tu form, se would go in the el, ella, usted form, and also in the ellos, ellas, ustedes forms, and nos pertains to the nosotros form. So using those reflexive pronouns for reflexive verbs that end in SE and that indicate actions there where the recipient, the doer, and the receiver are the same. Let's do exercise 8 together, filling in the blank with the correct reflexive pronoun for each of the numbers here, 1 through 9. We'll do the first 3 together. Isabel y Elena son dos hermanas. We have preparan, that ending an. Is a ellos, ellas ending, and so that's how we know this blank is going to be filled in with se preparan. Also we know because of the subject, Isabel y Elena. That is also a clue or a justification of using se, just like how they actually do here in the example. Se preparan para una fiesta de quinceañera. Debemos acostar then since debemos is in the nosotros form, we know to use the nosotros reflexive pronoun nos. Debemos acostarnos temprano esta noche. Sí, y mañana yo is our subject. And then we also have baño, which is a yo form ending. So two clues, the subject pronoun yo, and then the yo form ending o, tell us that we should use the reflexive pronoun me for number 3. If you want to pause before you do the rest, and then I'll give you the correct answers. Alright, the correct answers are me maquillo, me pinto, me gusta preparar me, because me gusta is in the yo form. Siempre te preparas. Elena se arregla. Las dos se visten. And those are the correct answers for exercise 8. Exercise 9 has 2 sets of verbs, and you're putting this in logical order, indicating if each of the first verb's actions here take place before, antes de, or after, después de. Indicate if the first verb takes place before or after the second. So for example, lavarse la cara, to wash your face, and acostarse, to go to bed. Does washing your face take place before, antes de, or after, después de? Washing your face take place before or after going to bed? Well, of course, before. Me lavo la cara, right? Conjugating the verb lavarse by taking off arse, putting the o ending, because you're speaking about yourself in the yo form, right? And then your reflexive pronoun me goes with the yo form. That's how we get from lavarse to me lavo. Me lavo la cara antes de, before going to bed, acostarse. The first couple together. Lavarse las manos, to wash your hands, and then comer, the verb to eat. Yo me lavo las manos. Yo me lavo las manos antes de comer. Yo me lavo las manos antes de comer. All right, taking a look at number 2, despertarse, to wake up, and levantarse, to get up. Obviously, we wake up before we get up, so me despierto is I wake up. Me despierto, doing just like how we did with the verb lavarse, taking off the arse, putting an o, and then in front of despierto, putting the reflexive pronoun me. Me despierto antes de levantarme. Alright, go ahead and knock out 3 through 6, indicating if the first verb takes place before, antes de, or después de, the second verb. And then conjugate the first verb in the yo form, just like how we did in numbers 1 and 2. We're going to wrap up by watching a video that recaps the key points to the notes that we took today. And at the end of the video will be a brief quiz practice. Let's take a look.
It's time we talked about reflexive verbs. What's a reflexive verb, you ask? Well, it's when you say that people do something to or for themselves. Watch and learn.
I brushed the dog's hair. I brushed my hair. Brushing my own hair is reflexive. I brushed the dog's teeth. I brushed my teeth. Minty fresh. As I was saying, brushing my own teeth is reflexive because I do the action for myself.
Reflexive verbs have two parts, a reflexive pronoun and a verb form. In English, reflexive pronouns include myself, herself, etc. In Spanish, the reflexive pronouns are me, te, se, nos, os, and se.
Teach me about drying my hair, please.
Okay, let's conjugate the reflexive verb secarse, which means to dry oneself. Me seco, te secas, se seca, nos secamos, os secáis, se secan.
So if we're saying the dog dries his hair, we say el perro se seca el pelo. Remember that in Spanish, when referring to body parts, you use the articles el, la, etc. instead of possessives mi, tu, su, etc. like in el pelo.
Me cepillo los dientes por la mañana.
Se afeita todos los días.
Me ducho.
You can place the pronoun before the verb or attach it at the end. So we can say me voy a vestir or voy a vestirme.
Now that we're all dressed, let's test your knowledge.
Fill in the blank with the correct reflexive pronoun and verb.
Levantarse. Nosotros, temprano los lunes. Nosotros nos levantamos temprano los lunes. Ducharse. Yo, después de desayunar. Me ducho después de desayunar. Levantarse. Ay, tú no puedes tan temprano. Ay, tú no puedes levantarte tan temprano.